With Project Hail Mary now playing in theaters, Phil Lord and Christopher Miller have made another great movie in their directing catalog. Now, time to rank every single one of their directed movies. I just want to point this out. There seems to be a lot of confusion online as to what they did actually direct. I'm going to point this out. They did not direct Into the Spider-Verse or Across the Spider-Verse. The only movies on this list are the only movies they directed. Other movies, they most likely produced them or written them. They were not part of directing them. This ranking is only ranking the movies that they directed, which is only 5. There seems to be a lot of confusion online about that, so I decided to point it out. But other than that, let's begin this ranking.
No, you're leaning in again!
I didn't want to kiss!
This is the most uncomfortable fist fight I've ever been in.
Now these two directors have such a great catalog that even last place on this list is still not that bad of a movie. In fact, this is the only lowest rated one on this entire ranking. Everything else is essentially tied with one another. But to me, what stops 22 Jump Street from being even higher on this list is that I just felt like it was trying to be too much of what the original film was. It tries to repeat some of the same stuff over and over again, such as these characters going to college, but just swapping the roles around of who gets the better treatment and who didn't. But overall, the original just did it better, and binging the original and this one back to back just didn't really give that great of an experience because you're going off of the highs of the original film, and then just when watching this one immediately after, it's just not quite the same experience, and a lot of the humor just doesn't feel as funny. There are a few jokes in here which are absolutely hilarious, but other than that, a lot of this movie just feels significantly weaker. The script is just significantly weaker, and it's quite obvious they didn't know what to do with a sequel, they just wanted to make one. So it's still funny, it's still enjoyable enough for what it is. The chemistry between the two duos are still there, but overall, it's not the original, it's significantly weaker, they tried too hard, and by the end of the day, it's just not the original, it's just significantly weaker than that, and that's that.
Mamma mia. Cloudy, with a chance of meatballs.
This is a film that I grew up on and still holds up. This was also the director's first movie, and for the first movie they directed, it's pretty good. It kind of just shows their humor that the rest of the movies down the line are going to bring. But this one, of course, being the most over the top, because you take the original concept, it's funny and it's weird, but it works in its own way. But then they have a story about food raining from the sky, and just the funny aspect and that story combined together just works for a movie. They somehow made it work for a movie and just made for a fun watch for what it is. Now is this movie perfect? No, there's some plot point issues that are just weird, come out of nowhere, but at the end of the day, this movie is what it is. It's about food raining from the sky, and it's about a city that used to survive on sardines. Of course, the movie is going to be wild and bizarre in its own right. But with that said, this movie is still fun in its own nature, and like I said, I grew up on this film. It still holds up for that factor, and I just have a tad bit of nostalgia for it. That's when we get Project Hail Mary, the newest film that released last week. Now, I've read the book of this movie, which is one reason why I do think I didn't love it the same way that everyone else seems to be loving it. The internet is extremely loving this movie right now, and no doubt, it is still a good movie, but I read the book, so obviously some things are not going to translate as well for me as they do for other people. But this movie is still absolutely hilarious. These directors just do a great job at doing storytelling and comedy together while making a very intriguing story while still being able to make the movie absolutely hilarious. And I feel like this movie kind of represents that the most because this is a very serious story. The book showed that very serious nature. This time around, they're adding all these jokes into it and making it 10 times funnier than it was in the book. Now, that is a problem for me. To me, my problems with this movie that make me not love it as much as other people do is that the movie is too funny. It's trying to be too funny when it's not really the right to be as funny as the movie's trying to make it out to be. And since I read the book, most of this movie just felt like a montage instead of actually telling the story the way the book did because it's not elaborating on all the things the book also did. But I have a full review of all of this if you want me to expand on a lot more of those details. Because at the end of the day, Project Hail Mary is just a feel-good space movie. That's what the movie version brought. The book version, different than that, but when you translate it to a movie, it has the right to be its own thing. and this movie does that. It makes it come across as a feel-good space movie that you can just put on and have a fun time with it. The two main characters, their chemistry together is so fun to watch. The entire plot you're always intrigued by. The movie is just so immersive. All the space sequences look absolutely beautiful. This is a movie that is made for the movie theaters. If you haven't seen this movie yet, go watch it. It will not disappoint you. It is absolutely worth it.
That was crazy. Oh, when did I get stabbed? That's awesome. Yeah!
Now this was the first time watch for me. I was preparing for this ranking. I knew 21 Jump Street was an iconic comedy, but I was not expecting to love it as much as I did. I had an absolute blast with this movie and loved every single second of it. This is probably one of my favorite comedies of all time now. I absolutely ate this movie up, and I'm so glad I enjoyed it as much as I did. The chemistry between these two cops is the whole heart of this movie, and the whole comedy aspect of the movie too. Their chemistry together is just so iconic that it's kind of unmatched now. This is such a great cop film, it's such a great comedy alone. Just every single thing to do with the comedy, to me, is extremely smart. I miss comedies like this, and we don't really get a lot of comedies like this nowadays. 21 Jump Street delivered all of those aspects I just love from comedies. I absolutely ate this movie up. There's consistent laughter, such an intriguing story too. This movie has no right to work as well as it does, but thanks to the duo, thanks to the story, thanks to the comedy, it just all works, and I loved it.
That is literally the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Let me handle this. That idea is just the worst.
Now I know I said I grew up on Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, but the Lego Movie to me is a whole other iconic nostalgia. This one, I rewatched countless times on multiple car rides and multiple road trips that I used to do. This movie is even more iconic to me than Cloudy and a Chance of Meatballs used to be, and holds a very special place in my heart, and still holds up to this day, even more than Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs ever brought. Again, I did talk about how these directors hold such a great job at bringing the story and the comedy elements together. To me, all of these movies just kind of represent that, but also, with nostalgia, this movie did that too. The theme overall that this movie is telling is always just touching, along with the movie being able to capture the true magic of Legos. Not only is this movie just such a great job to any Lego fan out there, but it's also such a great movie in general that this movie still holds up to this day and honestly has no right being as good as it actually is, but somehow is even better than all of that. It just captures warmth, creativity, and is absolutely hilarious. The Lego Movie to me is some of the best that these directors have to offer, and still holds a special place in my heart. But anyways, if you like this video, maybe these ones on the sounds to you too, like, subscribe, see you guys next time. Goodbye.